How you doing? This is Rick with Winders Ranger. I wanted to talk a little bit about the setup that I finally got the install done for the washer dryer combo, and I just wanted to go over a little bit about how I installed it, why I did it the way I did it, and the parts that I used to make it work, or at least work in my situation. So if you haven't seen the earlier video, I did one talking about the washer dryer that I bought and why I bought it, and talked a little bit about some of the settings and how long it took to do a load of laundry. It does take longer, I'll tell you that. But this is an LG direct drive. It's ventless, which means it doesn't vent to the outside, so that's one of the reasons why it takes as long as it does. One of the other reasons is because it uses a regular 110 electric plug, so it doesn't require a larger electric service to operate like a standard dryer would. So this would run off of anything like a regular washer, so that too makes it take a little bit longer. But in the RV, this of course is a toy hauler, so we're in the garage portion. And what I did, so this is the inside portion of the install, and try to get around the different hoses here. Of course, you've got the hot water and the cold water, and I don't have this hooked up to hot water despite the red PEX line, and this is PEX here, this plastic, red plastic. Just used that, just really didn't make any difference to me whether it was red or blue. But what I did is I run the hot and cold water together into a splitter, so it's getting the same water, but I wasn't sure if there was a sensor on the washer to sense if the hot wasn't hooked up, that it wouldn't operate. So rather than test it out, I thought, well, it's not really going to hurt to just have it hooked up together. So I ran them both into a Y. They come into a fitting here, and I've got a valve on the fitting, so I can shut this off here if I need to without going outside. So if I need to disconnect something here, of course I can shut it off here and here and isolate one line or the other, but I can also shut it off here, take this off, or take these two off. The PEX line, I think I got like a 5-foot section, and it just runs down the wall. I've got one strap there to hold it against the wall, and runs down through the floor through I think it was I want to say it was a 3/4 inch hole, something like that. And I'll go outside and I'll show you where these all come out. The drain, which is this gray line here, goes into I think it's 1.5 inch corrugated flexible hose, which is normally used for a boat in what's called the bilge. The bilge would be water that collects in the bottom of the boat, and you have to pump it out from time to time. And this is a bigger line, of course, but I think I got like a 20-foot section or a 25-foot section of that, and it's flexible, so that way I didn't have to worry about getting the right type of fittings for ABS plastic pipe. I could just run that right up here against the wall. I cut a hole in the floor. You see the expanded foam there, because the hole ended up being just a little bit bigger. Just pass the hose down through the floor, and it comes out right in front of a hand box where I've got a handle for the galley gray tank on this particular RV. And I just loop the hose down, goes underneath the frame, goes outside, and then I used ABS plastic pipe to plumb it into the RV sewer system, so that way I can drain it out through the sewer. And I'll take you outside and show you how that is. So the water line comes out. You can see this hand box here, that's the valve for the galley gray tank. And what I did is I just passed the red line down through the floor, put another PEX fitting on it where it would connect to a garden hose, and I've got a shut off on that as well, you can see there. And then I just connect it to a garden hose, and the garden hose just comes out, runs up to the pedestal. So I figured that was about the easiest way to connect the water line. I kind of toyed with the idea of connecting it into the RV water system, but then you got to go find a water line, you got to cut it, splice into it, and I just thought, you know, I wanted to keep it as simple as possible and as easy as possible to install and hook up, and this seemed like this made the most sense to me. So I'll show you the pedestal here in a minute, but while we're here at the hand box, I'll show you the sewer line, or the drain to the washer. Now we're just forward of the hand box, which is the thing there with the gray tank number 2, and inside the wheel well, I brought the hose down through the floor, this just outboard of the frame, and it runs, it's kind of hard to get a good angle here, but it runs down behind the shackle for the suspension and goes up, and then I haven't done it yet, but there's a drain line underneath there. It's going to hang, the hose is going to hang up underneath the underbelly of the trailer, and I'm just going to zip tie it to that drain line. And you can see it there. Right now it's just kind of laying on the trailer's axles, and it goes up, and I can't get it from this angle, but I'll show you where I plumbed it in. I'll have to probably come in from the other side where it's plumbed in to the RV drain. That's the valve. The valve is actually, I wanted the valve isolated on that particular water line, so if it was closed I could still drain the galley tank without opening this, but I couldn't find a straight enough piece of pipe that was accessible. So this valve has to be open to drain the galley tank. The point that I wanted to have that valve in there at all was for draining the black tank. It's not likely that draining the black tank anything would back up into the washer drain, but if something was to plug up or there was an issue somewhere, I don't want to take that chance. So that's the reason why there's a valve there to begin with, that I can shut that line off and prevent any sewage from coming up into the back of the RV or getting into that drain where the washer drains into. So that's the point for having that other valve there. But let me go around, come up underneath, and see if I can show you how that's all plumbed together. Now you can see that flexible line, how it comes around the rear suspension shackle, goes over the axle, over the second axle, and then it comes into a rubber adapter. I forget the names of those things, but anyway, it's got a hose clamp on both ends, and I'm adapting the corrugated line to the ABS plastic pipe. And then there's a couple of elbows and a Y, and then it goes into the gray tank, the rear gray tank, the galley tank for the kitchen, and then the valve there that I can isolate all that out. So the valve for the gray tank, it's up underneath the underbelly there, and I could have pulled that down and tried to find that line, and I probably could have had room to splice into it somewhere, but again, it's hot, Florida summer, so I was looking for the easiest way, the quickest way that I could get it up and working, get to a point where I can do laundry. So, but by hooking it up that way, I can actually just drain right through the RV sewer system right into the drain. So, okay, this is the water pedestal. I got a 4-way splitter on the water line coming out. The one on the far right with the gauge, that's the fresh water for like drinking water, showers and whatnot. The one second over from the left, that's the black tank flush. The one over here on the far left is just an extra that I've got in case I need to use water out here for something. The white one is with this one here with the fittings on it, goes to the washer. I needed 2 female ends, and I'd run through a couple of adapters and they were leaking real bad. So I finally came up with just cutting the end off of a garden hose and splicing another end on there to make it work so it didn't leak. So that way, I mean, it's another hose I got to deal with, but it was easier to do that, hook everything up, than to plumb the washer independent on a water line inside the RV. So that's the setup for the washer dryer combo. It's working good, got no complaints, had no issues, no leaks, no backups or anything. So if there's anything that changes, if there's a problem with it, I'll do an update video and I'll let you know. But that's what worked for me. I don't have the total cost of all the parts and pieces, probably $120 or so with all the stuff that I got off Amazon. Got a few extra parts, but it works. So thanks for watching. If you're new here, subscribe. That'll keep you up to date on new videos to come. And if you would, hit that like button. That helps out a lot. I really appreciate it. And until the next video, take really good care of yourselves.